So in the last episode I gave you guys the choice to either stay at Paris Saint-Germain or return to the Barclays Premier League and join Arsenal, a club I've never managed before, and you guys did decide that it was time to leave PSG and go back to England. Go ahead and manage Arsenal at the Emirates Stadium and see if we can turn their fortunes around and get them to where they want to be, which is back into the Champions League, because of course they have now fallen out of it and are now playing Europa League football. So yeah, thank you to everyone that voted in the poll. Really appreciate it. Of course, you guys did choose Arsenal, and to be honest, it doesn't really bother me too much, because even though I'm leaving PSG, and that is the club that I really did want to manage at some stage during some series on YouTube, it was a lot of fun for me. I really enjoyed it. I was still having loads of fun playing with the team. It doesn't bother me too much, because I know here at Arsenal, it's going to be the type of challenge that you guys have been craving for, which is trying to get back a team who were, let's be honest here, we're a really strong team in England, but now in the game are pretty average at best. They're no longer what they used to be, let's just say that. Again, I'm referencing the game here. But despite that, their team is pretty decent, just they haven't really been doing the job in the league. Their team is okay, there's some decent players here that are in the 80s, but one of the most important things about this team is that a lot of the players in the first 11 are in the 30s, which means that unlike at PSG, they did have a lot of deadwood players, but most of those are on the bench and in the reserves. Arsenal's problems are that most of their best players in the 30s are actually in the first team. So it's kind of similar to what PSG was like, in the sense there's a lot of players here that do need to start being shifted on and, you know, finding younger replacements for them. But most of the players that are in the first team and are actually the best quality and in this team are in the 30s. So it's kind of, it's going to be different. It's going to be different and difficult, I guess. I mean, when you look at the players you're looking at here, you're saying, oh, it's quite a few players in the 80s here. Yes, but their ages are usually in the 30s, which means that do we want to keep these old players here and try and give them a couple more seasons at the top level to see if they're still good enough, or sell them on right now for as much as we can get and then rebuild the team with players who are in maybe the mid to high 70s or possibly the low 80s that are far younger than the first team, and, you know, bleed for a younger Arsenal team. It's all going to be about development here at Arsenal for the younger players that we will hopefully decide to try and sign. Still, regardless of that, the position Arsenal are in 7th place, you can see here. But interestingly enough, they're only 6 points behind Manchester United. Now, of course, if you watched the last episode where I showed you where Arsenal were in the table, they were actually 12 points behind Manchester City, who are in 4th. Now it's United in 4th. And for some reason now they're only 6 points behind United in 4th. And I don't really know why this is. Again, we've discussed this before. We've mentioned this before. For some reason, the other leagues' tables in career mode are always wrong. They're never accurate. I don't know why this is. It's still going to be a challenge. Don't get me wrong, being 6 points behind the team in 4th. And there are a lot of teams around the 5th to 8th place areas that are really decent and could definitely take a claim and make a claim to finish in the top 4. But even so, it's not going to be as strong and as difficult. I know it's only 5 points, so it's not like a massive gap, but let's just say it certainly could have been a lot more difficult for us. Still, we are going to be looking to bring in those younger players. Now, as I just briefly mentioned a minute ago, one of the best things about joining Arsenal is that their first 11, a lot of the players are in the 30s and are coming towards the end of their careers, really. They've probably got 1 or 2 more seasons before they start to deteriorate drastically. But here at Arsenal, what we really want to do is shift on the old guard and bring in younger players right from the off. So Kagan Holland, or Kagan Holland, not sure how you pronounce that, the Wolfsburg defender there, of course a new gen / regen. Now, I looked at him at PSG but decided against signing him. He's 5'11", and, you know, I usually on my defenders, my centre backs to be a little bit taller than that. But even so, he looks like an absolute monster. 19 years old and already 78 overall. This guy coming in would be an absolutely fantastic signing for us and the perfect replacement, maybe not in terms of height, but the perfect replacement for someone like Pierre Mertesacker, Lauren Koscielny, those players that are in their 30s now. And well, Mertesacker's already down to 78, and I'm sure Koscielny in 1 season or 2 will start to go down as well, so he'd be a great replacement. And also John Stones of Everton, a defender, who could be a very decent replacement as well for, again, Koscielny or Mertesacker, because the defensive positions here at Arsenal are probably the weakest parts, to be honest. The offense is really strong. You've seen players like Edin Dzeko, who aren't even in my first team at 84 overall, It's the defense which is the worrying sign with Arsenal. So that's what we want to improve on, as soon as possible, really. And of course, because we are in a January transfer window, the perfect time to leave, really, because we can get straight to work here at Arsenal and start to bring in those young players and try and develop them for the future. And, as I mentioned just a minute ago, obviously when we joined PSG, the main aim was to shift on all the deadwood they had, but most of it did actually lie in the reserves, really, and on the bench. So many players on high wages that just weren't going to cut the grade at PSG. Here at Arsenal, it's actually all in the first team, really. Most of the players that are in their 30s and going to be decreasing in the next 1 or 2 years are in the first team. So we're going to be bringing in a completely new first team of players. So it's going to be really, really fun. Still, we take on Stoke City for the first game of the Arsenal career here, and the first chance did actually fall to Stoke as well early on, but Szczesny had to make a very good save there and keep it goalless. And in the 21st minute, a great chance for us to take the lead here at the Britannia Stadium. Mesut Ozil rouletting around Kyle Walker and playing a good through ball towards Danny Welbeck. Welbeck takes it around Myru Williams, but that is a really poor finish. I put it straight at Asmir Begovic, tried to curl it into the far post, and instead put it straight into the body of the Bosnian. So still goalless in this game, but in the 35th minute, Stoke would get the first goal of the game, and it came through Bojan. And this was a really poor goal to concede, because I mentioned a minute ago that the big problems with Arsenal is that their defence isn't the strongest, and unfortunately for us, well, it was completely true there. The free kick came in, and we had 2 chances to clear the ball away, with the first header which was flicked backwards, and then the second header which Bojan won. And he's not a tall player, Bojan. He's not small by any respect, but he's not exactly the tallest of players. Yet he wins the header, and Szczesny really should have saved that. It seems as though the ball went past his glove there as he sort of turned his hand sideways. He really should have got a glove to that, and instead he didn't, and it's Stoke 1, Arsenal 0. So Bojan giving Stoke City the lead, and again in the 44th minute, Danny Welbeck should have put the ball in the back of the net, and instead this time puts it wide. So still 1-0, and in the 45th minute, how about this with Debussy? I passed the ball straight to Bojan, he fed Juve, and thankfully for us, Szczesny bailed us out before Debussy gave it to Gibbs. So what a big mistake by me there, and I was all over the place. I really was in the first half, couldn't really do anything defensively, was just shambolic. In the 78th minute, there was a great chance to equalise as we played the ball inside towards Edin Dzeko, and Dzeko off the bench hits the post. So beginning to get back into the game in the second half here. We left it very, very late. However, in the 81st minute, we went on the counter-attack here. Dzeko fed Danny Welbeck, who went through one-on-one. Surely this time he's going to finish. Unfortunately not, because again, Danny Welbeck for the first time in this game misses a golden opportunity on a one-on-one and puts it wide. So still 1-0 in this game, and I just couldn't finish for Toffee. However, in the 84th minute here, Laurent Koscielny does bail us out and make it Stoke 1, Arsenal 1, and the captain equalises with just under 6 minutes to go, celebrates in front of the travelling fans, and what a fortunate goal that is, because to lose our first game would have been catastrophic. But how about this with Dzeko as well? Just complete composure there with the Bosnian off the bench. I thought I was going to shoot, but there was a crowd of free bodies. I'd probably mess it up. I saw Koscielny arriving deep down the left hand side, picked him out, and he ends up making it 1-1. So our captain and centre back, God only knows what he was doing up there, but he does get the goal and make it Stoke 1, Arsenal 1. And in the 89th minute here, Danny Welbeck holds off Ryan Shawcross, rounds Asmir Begovic, and this time finally Welbeck gets the goal and makes it Stoke 1, Arsenal 2. So with 20 seconds to go, the relief on my face playing a video game was just incredible. I mean, honestly, the one thing I didn't want to do was lose our first game as manager of Arsenal. Drawing it wouldn't have been bad, but to go and win it I felt was a must, really. And Danny Welbeck does finally come good in the 90th minute there, putting the ball past Begovic after going round him and into the back of the net. And the former Manchester United striker does finally score at the 4th time of asking. So Welbeck does give us the 3 points there as he makes it Stoke 1, Arsenal 2. And this was just such a fortunate game, because Stoke City's defence, for some strange reason, late on had just capitulated and fallen to pieces. And had they kept their composure and still been trying to defend in the final few minutes, we probably wouldn't even have got a point, let alone all 3, which you'll see we do go on to claim, as Edin Dzeko here actually goes and makes it 3-1 in stoppage time as Sanchez plays him through. He rounds Sonny Myru Williams and puts it past his Bosnian colleague Begovic to make it 3-1. So a very fortunate game, and I have to say, this is going to to be a challenge. I know that the PSG one, a few of you didn't seem to think it was as much of a challenge as it was, mainly because I seemed to do exactly what I needed to do within 2 transfer windows, which was shift on all the deadwood, bring in fresher faces, a couple better players, which we did quite easily. But this Arsenal team, it's despite there being some players with high overalls like Ozil, like Sanchez, believe me, this is not as good as it seems. Remember when I told you that a player's overall is important, but what's more important is how you play with them? This is the point right here. They've got some good players with decent overalls, but they're nowhere near as good as they play with. So believe me, this will be a difficult challenge for us. And of course, we do want to try and change the first team anyway. It's going to be a lot longer of a project than the PSG one was. That is going to end the episode. So thank you very much for watching, guys. I really do hope you have enjoyed it. If you have enjoyed today's episode of Career Mode, then please do leave a like, as it is much appreciated. And of course, it really does help my channel out. Hopefully, you guys are happy with joined Arsenal, and I will see you for the next episode of Career Mode very soon.